Today, I'm going to reveal how I made over $9,000 in crypto passive income from decentralized finance as a 19-year-old in the month of November alone. Yes, so you heard me right. My portfolio made over $9,000 in the month of November alone. Now, full disclaimer, I do have a relatively large portfolio, which does help, but I still made roughly 10, 15, or even 20% on my portfolio, which is really nice. So today, I'm going to break down the positions that did really good for me, as well as how I actually made that capital, where it came from, and what my plan for December is. So first things first, I want to take a look at my overall DeFi positions. Now, DeFi positions is stuff that's in liquidity pools. It does not include just simply staking Ethereum. It does not include just simply holding Ethereum or Bitcoin or something like that. And I will mention that I have been running this portfolio since May. I started with about $40,000, and there's a bunch of wash trading that did happen in here, which is why it shows I deposited $398,000 and pulled out $400,000. Did not actually deposit that money. That is simply wash trading. With that being said, since May, I've made $1,234 from price appreciation simply from those DeFi positions. I did have some that ended in a huge loss when we saw a huge crypto market crash, but I've been able to make back that loss from the positions that have been doing really well recently. Additionally, I have over $5,600 in earnings from liquidity pools. This is exactly what I want to focus on. This is the power of concentrated liquidity pools and DeFi yield farming. If you're just simply holding assets, you're not going to have this $5,600, which means if I wasn't in these liquidity pools, well, I'd only be at a $1,234 profit. Since I'm in these liquidity pools and since I'm in these positions, I'm ultimately at a $6,300 profit. And that's exactly why the strategy that I implemented in my portfolio, and not to be cocky, but is one of the best strategies out there, because it allows you to retain exposure to the assets that you truly believe in while earning a passive yield on it that ultimately allows you to have, number one, a hedge against the market, but number two, increase your exposure to the assets that you truly believe in. So when they do rise in the long term, you make a ton of money. Think about that. I was able to take this nearly $6,000, put it back into assets that I believe in, which means I now have an additional $6,000 of assets right now. But when those assets do go up in the long term, say they go 2, 3, even 4x, well, then my $6,000 will go to $12,000, maybe $18,000, or even $24,000. And overall, on average, my portfolio has been earning roughly 50% annually. And I will say, I do have a relatively low risk tolerance. I mainly invest into stuff like Ethereum, Wrapped Bitcoin, Link, Matic, AVAX, and other assets just like that. Now let's go and take a look at my hodls. Once again, some of this is wash trading, but this also does not include stuff that I'm holding on centralized exchanges, which I will say is a relatively low amount, but I still do have about $5,000 in overall profit on centralized exchanges. But here I've made roughly $11,700, and included in that $11,700 is roughly $800 of earnings just from simply staking assets, and that stake being compounded back into the position basically. So we do the math right there. Overall, since May, my portfolio has made me roughly $18,000, which is pretty absurd considering I'm 19 years old, but it did take time and work to get to this position. But I am going to be dropping a video soon on how I plan to become a millionaire through crypto and decentralized finance within the next 1 to 2 years. If you're ready for that video, make sure to drop a like, as well as subscribe with notifications turned on. So I want to take a look at this month-to-month breakdown. Now keep in mind, positions PL price is strictly from DeFi positions, earnings is strictly earnings from DeFi positions, and total is strictly total profit from DeFi positions. And then we do have an average APR for each month. Now these hodl numbers are also going to include the assets that I'm just simply staking or the assets that I'm holding in my portfolio basically. So you'll see, starting off in May, I made roughly $350. Not too bad. $350 is $350. I could spend roughly $10 per day at Chipotle with that money. And then over in June, I made roughly $700. We saw some pretty good price action in June before going deeper into summer in the United States and actually seeing a little bit of a DeFi crash. My portfolio ended up losing $400, but making $380 in earnings. And then going into August, crypto did pretty bad. I lost about $2,500 from price. I made about $480 from earnings. September wasn't nearly as bad. I lost roughly $290 from price, but I made $460 from earnings. So once again, this is one of the reasons why being in liquidity pools and yield farming is such a good strategy, especially when you're doing it with assets you truly believe in. Because you're not really worried about these short-term price depreciations, but you're earning the return on the way down, on the way up, and that ultimately kind of creates a hedge against the overall market in a sense. But then going into October, this is exactly where the crypto market recovered. I made $1,100 from price. I made $900 from earnings, by far my highest month yet, at least from Uniswap concentrated liquidity pools in real yield farming. Previously, I made upwards near $10,000 in the time span of a month, and that was last year when I was invested into super degen and super risky stuff that eventually completely came crashing down. But that brought me to a $1,900 profit from DeFi positions in the month of October. Pretty good, with a 35% APR. Moving on and going further, in November, I made $2,000 from position price action. I also made $1,900 from earnings. That brings my overall November profit from DeFi positions alone to $36.50 with an average APR of 50%. And even though I only made roughly $36.50 from my DeFi positions, I am way more proud of this than when I made $10,000 from random degen stuff that I was investing into that came crashing down. Because this is way more fulfilling because it's real returns, it's a real business model, and it's real revenue basically. You're not worrying about losing your money. You can actually sleep at night. You don't have to be logging in at say 7 a.m. right before you go to work to make sure that your money's still there. No, you can let this do its thing and let these positions go for 1, 2, 3, even 4 to 5 weeks if you want them to. You can structure these pools in a manner where they fit your personality. So you're probably already running to the comments saying, hey, you said $9,000, you only made $36.50 here. But you're not taking into account the $5,622 I made from just simply holding some other assets or from my HODL portfolio. So that brings me out to a total of $9,200 in the month of November alone, just in 31 days. Now, taking a look at this December snapshot, you can see at the end of December, when I took the snapshot, I had Ethereum to Matic included in my portfolio, I had LUSD to USDC included in my portfolio, and then I had ETH to ETH Plus included in my portfolio. This was doing roughly a 25% overall APR. It was decent, but I wasn't too happy with it. So I have actually withdrew from some of these positions, and I just recently, literally yesterday, opened up 2 new positions, one of them expecting to be doing 150%, finally taking on a little risk over here, and then the other expecting to do roughly 40% on Matic as well as Wrap Bitcoin. So in my mind, that's a win. That's going to bring my overall portfolio average out to probably around 50 to 60%, get me back up to those really good numbers that I saw initially in the month of November, and hopefully I'll be making roughly $2,000 a month at a 60% annualized return. Now, one thing I want to mention, you'll see at the end of December, I had a $40,000 DeFi portfolio, and then I also had a $40,000 hold portfolio, with most of that actually being in Ethereum, Matic X, Geom, and Wrap Bitcoin. Now, the thing I want to mention is I was borrowing against the majority of these assets. So I don't actually have $80,000. I probably had about $60,000 at this point in time because I was borrowing against Wrap Staked Ethereum, I was borrowing against Matic, I was borrowing against Geom, and I'm also borrowing against Wrap Bitcoin. I'm taking that borrow and I'm investing it into LUSD to USDC. So this is essentially allowing me to get free exposure to something that's doing 25% a year by simply just holding some of the assets that I wanted to hold either way. So it's essentially allowing me to leverage up, but in a safe manner where I'm not going to get liquidated instantly. And by the way, I'm not the only one that was doing well in the month of November. Mitchell opened up a position roughly halfway through November and was still able to captivate roughly $4,400 in fees from this position alone on Link to USDC. And he's making roughly $250 per day at 150% APR. He said this has never gone below 100%. And in the early days of November, Mitchell was making roughly $500 per day at a 220% APR. Scott was making roughly $100 per day from this Matic Tanaka pool, coming out to roughly over $5,000 in profit just from this pool alone. I'm not going to disclose this person's name because they don't want it to be disclosed, but they made roughly $50,000 from pools in the month of November. Now keep in mind, 28,000 of that, so that's $28,000 was made from passive income and the earnings that they got in these pools. My point here is it's possible, and I did not just get lucky. I have a proven strategy that consistently works for people that I work with, but also for my personal portfolio. And that's exactly why we introduced the DeFi Accelerator program and why we now have over 100 applicants every single month. And that's because on average, our clients are making the fee that they pay to us back in the time span of just a month because they already have their portfolio deployed, earning passive income. The best part is we work one-on-one with individuals to help ensure their success, but we also have a self-paced option that we just introduced. And just one of the many benefits of joining this program is you're actually getting access to this platform that I'm showing you right now, where we post updates related to DeFi, we post in-depth analysis onto different DeFi networks as well as projects. We go into what platforms we're actually investing our money into and what we actually have in our portfolio, and we dive deeper into different DeFi strategies that we're personally personally investigating, but also our clients are investigating. At this point in time, I can confidently say that our clients have well over $10 million invested into cryptocurrency alone. But getting back into my portfolio, let me show you my plan for the month of December. So as I said, I went ahead and exited this Ethereum thematic pool. I have no plans on exiting LUSD to USDC because it's still kicking it at roughly 25% APR. And this Ethereum to Ethereum Plus position has been consistently making 15% APR, and it's managed by Archimedes Finance. I am going to be making an update video on Archimedes Finance relatively soon. But what I did replace is this Ethereum thematic position simply due to the fact that towards the end of the month, it was doing 25% APR. And then when you go and you look at some of these other Ethereum thematic positions, like my 1, 2, and 3 over here, 1 was doing 71%, made $960. 2 was doing 225%, made me $3,000, and then 3 actually lost me $1,000 because there was a retracement, and it was still making 85%. When you bring that all together, I made roughly $4,000 from these Matic positions, which is really nice. But of course, it's time to flip into something new. One of those ones that I just got into is wrap Bitcoin to Matic. And instead of taking my full $22,000 from Ethereum to Matic and just throwing it into Matic to wrap Bitcoin, I went ahead and just put $15,000 in it. So I am at roughly $150 profit from price appreciation. But additionally, in the time span of just a few hours, I've been able to collect roughly $15 so far, which is not too bad. If he does keep up with this pace, I'm going to be making roughly $20 per day off this position, which when you do the math, that's roughly a 50% annual return off of my $15,000, which I am relatively happy with. But of course, I've been dollar cost averaging into Solana tokens since roughly May of this year. So I've accumulated a lot of SOL tokens, and I've made an absolute killing just from Solana price action. So I felt it was time to actually dive deeper into the Solana network. I went ahead and went over to Camino Finance and looked at some Solana pools on there. Now, this is not an ad. I have no affiliation whatsoever with Camino Finance, but I do think it's a relatively cool platform that allows you to estimate potential returns, but also invest into other people's vaults. So one of those vaults that I invested into, which keep in mind, I made my own vault and I'm managing it myself, but I essentially created a render to Solana pool, and they have a managed vault that's doing roughly 116% per year, which isn't too bad. Now, my position is estimated to do roughly 180% per year, which I'm absolutely happy with. Now, Camino is like DeFi Finance. It's an aggregator for Solana network decentralized exchanges. So two top decentralized exchanges on Solana network are going to be Orca as well as Radium. My position is on Orca. As you can see, my return is supposed to be roughly 0.41% per day. So a little bit more than I was actually expecting, which is great. And one thing that I do like about the Solana network and Orca is you can actually get alerts directly to your phone, your email, or of course your Telegram whenever your position is going out of range, which is pretty cool. Now, if you look at pending yield, you can see I've already made $8.30 from this position, and I've only been in this position for a few hours as well. I opened it around the same time I opened my Matic to Ethereum up. But with that being said, that's my plan for December. Assuming this goes to plan, I'll make roughly $2,000 from earnings alone in the month of December, which would be great. Now, something that I do want to quickly mention is I have been being a little bit more private about my portfolio for the sole reason of there are a lot of people out there that just completely copy the positions I'm in. I personally do not think you should copy my portfolio because you don't know what risk I'm taking on. But at the same exact time, when people do go out there and they copy my portfolio, they copy the ranges I'm in and so on and so forth, well, it ultimately dilutes the return I'm getting to the point where sometimes I'm getting 50%, but then I post about my pool and then all of a sudden I'm getting roughly 25%. So I have been trying to keep my portfolio relatively exclusive to my clients. Obviously, you could still find my wallet address if you dig deep, but at the same time, I have been going a little bit more private, which is why I haven't been making as many videos recently. And if you guys do want to learn more about the DeFi Accelerator program and what we do there, I recommend you apply at builderwealth.com/DeFi Accelerator. The link is down below in the description. Remember, we are application only. We are not desperate for your money. We are truly trying to build a mastermind of people that are succeeding in the DeFi space. And if you want to be a part of that, apply now. I'll see you guys in the next video. Drop a like, subscribe, and notifications turned on, and peace out.